The United States of America and Germany have finally agreed today that the Germans will purchase 5 Patriot air defense batteries for Ukraine at once. And as insiders said earlier, it was Donald Trump himself who insisted on such an increase in the order after his conversation with dictator Putin at the beginning of this month. And this is just one of the outcomes of today's meeting in the Ramstein format. In addition to that, the issue of coordinating larger-scale deliveries of weapons to Ukraine was discussed, specifically American weapons. And as the new Minister of Defense of Ukraine, Denis Shmyhal, reported, Ukraine requested air defense, artillery, and an additional $6 billion for the Ukrainian military from its allies. In addition, Ukraine reached an agreement with its allies on the joint production of thousands and thousands of drones. And that's far from all. My name is Alexei Pichi. Today is July 21st on the calendar. Let's go through everything step by step. But before we start, I ask you to subscribe to this channel, leave a like, write any comment, and be sure to subscribe to my Telegram channel. The link to it is in the description of this video. So today another meeting of the allies in the Ramstein format took place, and this time it was different from the previous ones because the supply of weapons to Ukraine under a new scheme was discussed. Europe buys from the United States the entire range of weapons that Kyiv requests, and then Europe transfers all this weaponry to Ukraine. That is, the United States is removing itself from the obligations of direct arms supplies. Now they will be carried out through NATO structures. And now we have the first most important agreement. As I mentioned earlier today, on July 21st, United States Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth spoke with his European colleagues about how to coordinate the new scheme for supplying weapons to Ukraine. German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius stated that Berlin will provide Ukraine with additional air defense systems and the necessary ammunition. According to him, during his trip to Washington last week, he reached an agreement with United States Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth regarding Germany's participation in providing 5 Patriot systems. Specifically 5, not 2 as previously assumed. But if you are subscribed to my channel, then you know that we have already discussed earlier that Germany will buy exactly 5 batteries for Ukraine. And next I will quote Pistorius. In addition, during my trip to Washington last week, I agreed with Pete Hegseth that Germany will join in providing the 5 urgently needed systems as soon as possible. The parties will coordinate their actions to achieve this goal in the coming days. How to achieve this, we will closely coordinate in the spirit of mutual trust between partners over the next few days. And let me remind you here, earlier American President Donald Trump stated that the United States would send Patriot systems to Ukraine, but Europe would pay for them. During a meeting with the NATO Secretary General on July 14th, Trump announced the transfer of 17 Patriot systems to Ukraine. And according to him, these systems can be deployed quickly. Although for now the exact number of 17 systems remains unclear. A few days after that, the United States President noted that their first Patriot missiles are already being shipped to allies who will then transfer them to Ukraine. So, as the Minister of Defense of Ukraine, Denis Shmyhal, reported today at the 29th meeting of the Ukraine Defense Contact Group, they discussed strengthening air defense and more. The minister listed the key decisions of the partners, and now let's go through the points one by one. The United States, together with NATO, is launching a new mechanism that will allow European countries to purchase American weapons for Ukraine. The specific parameters of this initiative have been discussed. Germany is already joining the supply of 5 Patriot systems. They are expected to be delivered soon. Germany is also providing more than 200,000 shells for the Gepard systems, as well as funding the purchase of Ukrainian long-range drones. Canada will continue to participate in financing the Ukrainian defense industry through the so-called Danish model and is allocating 20 million Canadian dollars for the maintenance of Ukrainian tanks. The Netherlands is providing 200 million euros for interceptor drones and 125 million euros for the maintenance of F-16 aircraft. Norway will allocate a total of 1 billion euros for the purchase of drones in 2025, of which 400 million will be specifically for purchases from the Ukrainian defense industry. Sweden is preparing a new package with air defense systems, artillery and equipment. At the Ramstein meeting today, the participants included United States Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, the commander of the United States European Command and Supreme Allied Commander Europe of NATO's Joint Armed Forces, General Alexis Grinkovich, and NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. In addition to this, according to Zelensky, French defense companies have decided to start manufacturing drones in Ukraine. At the meeting with French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot, Zelensky discussed defense assistance to Ukraine, especially the need for air defense systems, military training, and the results of the Ramstein format meetings. Next, I will quote Zelensky: "We are ready to expand joint defense production. There is a decision by French companies to start manufacturing drones in Ukraine, and this is very valuable. We also talked about sanctions against Russia and about negotiations on Ukraine's accession to the European Union. It is also known that Ukraine's Minister of Defense, Denis Shmyhal, addressed the partners during the Ramstein format meeting with three main requests that are critically important for Ukraine in the context of the war from Russia. The first is the purchase of American weapons. He emphasized that air defense, particularly Patriot and Patriot Advanced Capability 3 missiles as well as ammunition, are a necessity. The second request concerned financial support. According to Shmyhal, Ukraine needs $6 billion this year to close the procurement gap this year. He said that these funds will make it possible to produce more first-person view drones, interceptor drones to counter Shahed attacks, as well as additional deep strike weapons to inflict damage on Russia. And third, its preparation for the year 2026. Shmyhal called on our partners to already allocate funds for Ukraine in their budget proposals for the year 2026. Well, and at the end of this episode, I'll note that these are the results of Ramstein as of today. But let me remind you that already on Wednesday, the High Command of the North Atlantic Alliance will meet, as well as the defense ministers of European countries who agree to participate in this new scheme for purchasing American weapons for Ukraine. And there, the issues that were mostly addressed at the political level today will be discussed in more detail. So on Wednesday, I think there will be a bit more detail following today's meeting. Ramstein. We'll definitely wait for it. I'll leave it at that for now in this episode. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. That's all for now. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye, everyone. Subtitles created by me.